SunTrust Park outside Atlanta. The New York Mets play the Atlanta Braves. Tuesday Night Baseball is presented by Verizon. New York Mets baseball on SNY is brought to you by Verizon, the largest, most reliable 4G LTE network in America. By People's United Bank NA, see what know-how can do for you. By New York Lottery, play Champions of Cash, the new scratch-off from the New York Lottery. Get the ticket and download the New York Lottery 3D app to play on your phone. And by your local tri-state Volkswagen dealers. Well, last night the Mets got their first glimpse at the Braves' new home, SunTrust Park. And you know what? The Mets have a 1,000 winning percentage in this joint. Much better than they had at Turner Field. It's a beautiful new ballpark, plenty of features, lots of stuff to do for the fans, and especially for the kids. And a pleasant good evening, everybody, and welcome to Atlanta. Gary Cohen, Keith Hernandez with you tonight as the Mets play Game 2 of their series against the Braves. The Mets won last night. They got 5 innings from their starter, Robert Gsellman. He was so-so. They got 4 great innings out of their bullpen, featuring another strong inning from Jerry Blevins, who has really become an unsung hero on this team.
Well, he is the left-hander that Terry Collins goes to for the big outs. And this series of strikeouts right here with that big sweeping hook, these are the big hitters of the opponents that Jerry comes in late to get out. He is all 16 appearances this year. He's tied for Major League in appearances, and also, most importantly, he's stranded 14 of 16 runners. That also is first in the Major League Baseball in that statistic. He has just been phenomenal. He is the go-to guy. He gets everybody out when he's so far this season.
Using his curveball more this year and been much more effective against the lefties as a result. Meanwhile, Matt Harvey goes to the mound tonight for the Mets. Last time out on short notice, also against the Braves, didn't pitch so well.
Well, he's had a good start to the season. That last start was not a good one. It was a kind of a 5-alarm fire. He was called in to pitch. Did not pitch well against the Braves. Lifetime, he's 3-4 in 9 starts against these Bravos. He's looking to bounce back from that bad start.
And for the second straight start, he'll match up against the former Met knuckleballer R.A. Dickey.
Well, 4th start against the Mets of our Dickey, the knuckleballer. He's 3-0 lifetime. He's got a win in New York. Not a great start, but he got a W nonetheless. So it's a good pitching matchup.
Suffered a bit of a quad issue in that start, but back on the mound tonight for the Atlanta Braves. Mets try and make it 2 straight in Atlanta as Hank Aaron, ball meets bat, looks on. Mets and Braves, all the action coming your way on SNY. Why is brought to you by New York Community Bank and the NYCB family of banks. Visit them at mynycb.com. By Mazda, driving matters. And by Bob's Discount Furniture, shop in store or online at mybobs.com. The Mets welcome back Dead & Company to Citi Field on Saturday, June 24th. Original Grateful Dead members are united with an all-star cast, including John Mayer. For tickets, visit Mets.com/Dead & Company. Now time for the unlimited baseball break, brought to you by T-Mobile. Last night we showed you the surprise teams in the National League. Now the surprise teams in the American League, both up and down. The Yankees have been a huge surprise in the early season. The Angels, who had a tough year last year, have played better this season. Probably the biggest disappointment in the majors so far this year, the Toronto Blue Jays, although they have won their last 3, and the Kansas City Royals, who snapped a 9-game losing streak last night. Mets try and make it 2 straight in the Braves' new home at SunTrust Park. Mets and Braves first pitch coming up. Day in Atlanta in May. Temperature was in the upper 70s. Low humidity, abundant sunshine. In a word, perfect. And we don't usually say that about Atlanta weather.
No, we don't. We kind of dodged a bullet the other night coming in. There was a big storm that came through. It rained in the early morning, but it is beautiful today.
I just wait because it's supposed to rain on Thursday for getaway day. That'll be appropriate. Here's your Geico Mets starting lineup. Curtis Granderson sits down tonight in a deep batting slump, so Juan Lagares gets the start in center field. That moves Travis d'Arnaud up to the 5 spot in the batting order, with the suddenly red-hot Jose Reyes behind him.
And R.A. Dickey, the former Cy Young Award winner, back in 2012 in the orange and blue. I know you're true to the orange and blue, folks. He actually won a gold glove in Toronto in 2013, his only gold glove. He beat the Mets earlier this year, the knuckleballer. This is his 5th start. He's got a 2-2 record, as you can see.
a fly ball pitcher, Gary, and a bandbox of a park, I believe.
You know, it's interesting because the Braves signed both R.A. Dickey and Bartolo Colon to give them veteran presence in their rotation, but both of them are fly ball pitchers, and it'll be really interesting to see how they fare as SunTrust Park settles in, because what we've seen so far, the ball really flies in this ballpark.
Well, everybody's talked about the home runs yesterday, and we'll look at the Coors Light defense. That outfield is full of gold gloves right there. It's a golden outfield, great arms. Infield's got a solid defense also. Freddie Freeman, Brandon Phillips, outstanding gloves. And Suzuki, who sat last night, gets the call. He catches R.A. Dickey. He's just learning to catch that knuckleball. They say he's on the rise as far as getting used to anticipating the unknown break of a knuckleball.
Michael Conforto, who has certainly settled into his new duties as the leadoff hitter, has already hit 3 leadoff home runs, including one last night.
Look out, Ricky Henderson. This was a backdoor slider up with a 1-2 count, folks, which means he stayed in, wasn't worried in, and he is really played himself and hit himself into the lineup. He is not going to see the bench in the near future.
Last night, Conforto led off the game with a home run. Ender and Ciarte led off the bottom of the first with a home run. It was the first time in the history of Mets baseball that ever had a game where both leadoff hitters hit a home run in the first inning. Never happened before.
It's amazing.
56 years. Maybe it'll happen again. Conforto leads off. Dickey's first pitch, a knuckleball in for a strike, and we're underway. R.A. now 42 years old, spent 4 years in Toronto before coming to the Braves this season. And that skips by Suzuki and goes to the backstop, a ball and a strike.
Well, what made R.A. so effective is that the fact that his knuckleball, he can throw it hard with good velocity. A lot of guys said it's hard as they've ever seen anybody throw a knuckleball.
He was regularly throwing his knuckleball 80, 81 miles an hour when he was with the Mets. Doesn't throw it quite as hard now, 5 years later. He's averaged 77 miles an hour on his knuckleball, but that is still really firm for a knuckleball pitcher. And he misses outside as Suzuki boxes that one. That's 3-1. As Dribble Cabrera on deck, and then Jay Bruce. You see Suzuki wearing the larger mitt that R.A. brings around to him at his various stops through his major league career for his catchers to employ. 3-1 to Conforto, and the fastball drilled down the line, foul. So Dickey throws the fastball behind on the count. Conforto got a little too quick.
Well, in my experience with knuckleballs, it was obviously Phil Niekro here of the Atlanta Braves, the Hall of Famer. When you got 3-1, 2-0, usually Phil would just throw you that little dead fish sinker on the outside corner, try to get you to turn it over.
Of course, like most knuckleball pitchers, R.A. began as a conventional pitcher and a hard-throwing one. He could throw 95 miles an hour when he was first signed as a first-round draft pick with Texas. But after multiple failures, he turned to the knuckleball, and he had a magical year for the Mets, and it parlayed it into an important piece of his career late after it looked like things had expired for him. Michael Conforto draws a leadoff walk, and the Mets get the first man on.
Terrific at bat for Conforto right there. Good discipline.
Now it's Dribble Cabrera, 1 for 3 last night. Cabrera has a couple of home runs in his career against Dickey. We were wondering last week before the Mets faced Dickey whether any of the Mets switch hitters, Cabrera or Walker or Reyes, would bat right-handed against Dickey, but none of them did. They all batted from the conventional side, from the left side. And that gets behind Suzuki, and Conforto down to second base. So Suzuki, who had trouble catching Dickey's knuckleball during warm-ups and has already boxed a few around early, having some difficulty early in this game.
Well, you just never know where it's going to break. And of course, Bob Uecker had the great comment about the knuckleball.
Said wait till it stops rolling and pick it up. They're going to call that a wild pitch on Dickey. So a runner in scoring position for Cabrera, who has excelled in these spots. Ball and a strike. Anyway, the reason why we wondered about hitters, switch hitters hitting right on right against Dickey is because he's been more vulnerable to right-hand hitters through most of his career, and it's been the case again this season.
He's given up 3 home runs against the right-handers. They're hitting .275 coming into tonight's game.
Popped up foul, and that'll come back into the seats and out of play. 1-2. Dickey suffered a bit of a quad tweak covering first base in that game against the Mets last Thursday. Came out after 5 innings and only 67 pitches, in part because of that, but pronounced himself good to go for his start on regular rest tonight.
A little bit of a pinky, like a golf, almost like a golf grip. Interesting.
Tapped foul. Now, have you seen much of that?
No, I have not. I have not. I've seen the bottom hand pinky go over the knob, but not an interlocking of the top hand pinky with the bottom hand.
I don't think we've seen that from Cabrera before.
No, I will have to keep an eye on tomorrow and see if it's just something he does against the knuckleball.
Trying to think why you would do that. Would that cut down your swing somehow?
I don't have any clue as to why you would do that, Gary. I never made any adjustment like that off of Phil Niekro or Joe Niekro, his brother.
Of course, Joe threw a lot more fastballs than Phil did.
Yes, Joe that was just part of his repertoire, but Joe threw around 70% knuckleball.
1-2 to Cabrera with Jay Bruce on deck, and as Dribble goes down swinging on the knuckleball for the first out of the night.
It floats away from him. Oh, he threw out 3/4. Did you see that? I'm not so sure that was a knuckleball. I thought I saw some rotation there. I think it completely baffled Cabrera. That was a trick pitch.
A trick pitch off a trick pitch?
Yes. He's full of tricks.
Suzuki
got a bag of tricks.
Suzuki battles that one to a draw as Jay Bruce takes ball 1. Bruce was 1 for 5 last night, hitting at .287 for the year. He's had good numbers against Dickey, 6 for 15, including a home run. Conforto at second and 1 out. And that's in the air to deep right field. Back goes Markakis to the warning track, takes a look, and it's out of here. Jay Bruce with a long 2-run homer to get the Mets started tonight. Number 8 for Bruce, a 2-run shot, and the Mets take an early 2-0 lead. Well, he hit it pretty well, but the ball just flies in this ballpark, particularly out to right field.
This puts the old Fulton County Stadium to shame.
Well, they called the old Fulton County Stadium the launching pad, and this is like the launching pad redux.
That's just a knuckleball that didn't do anything. Stayed up. Wow.
I mean, that went 40 feet beyond the fence. Walker takes ball 1. It's the 5th home run Dickey's allowed in 24 innings this year. Walker 1 for 3 last night, and he fouls it away. 1-1. Well, last night Conforto with a first inning home run to get the Mets started. Tonight it's Jay Bruce with a 2-run homer in the opening inning after a leadoff walk to Conforto. Jay may be saying to Michael there, get the ball up in the air to right field, young man. There are home runs to be had.
When you throw a knuckleball that doesn't knuckle, make sure you cover it.
Jay Bruce played most of his career in a ballpark that very much favors hitting the ball in the air to right field in Cincinnati. Walker hits one back to Dickey. Nice pickup by R.A., and that's the second out.
Well, I must say, Gary, and we'll take a quick look at Dickey here on the flash in the gold. Good fielding pitcher in a position to field. But it was a nice win last night, was it not, this Met team?
Well, given the circumstances of what had preceded it, it was really important for the Mets to get pointed back in the right direction after getting blown out on Sunday and with the injury news about Noah Syndergaard.
Well, this has been a team that's always under Terry Collins' leadership. They've played for him, and they've overcome a lot of adversity. And it's just another example, as far as I'm concerned. That's a tough game, to come out here and put it on this ball club.
Well,
so
it's also gone under the radar because of all the circumstances that have been swirling with Cespedes and Syndergaard going down over the last week. But all of a sudden, the Mets offense is starting to look a little bit stronger. They've scored 5 or more runs 5 straight games after struggling for so much of the early season to score runs. So that was encouraging, especially to do it against a pitcher like Julio Teheran, who had given them fits in the past.
yeah, the Mets come into this game with a .218 team batting average. That's last in the National League.
2-2 to d'Arnaud, and he struck him out up and away to end the inning. A couple of strikeouts for Dickey, but in between, Jay Bruce launches his 8th home run of the year. Bruce with a 2-run shot to get the Mets started. Matt Harvey takes the mound with a 2-0 lead. One change, Kurt Suzuki, who had a 3-run homer against Matt Harvey last week, in the lineup against Harvey tonight.
There's Big Matt right there. His 6th start of the season. This is his first start that is in regular rotation. No surprises for him, so he should be ready to go. Looking to bounce back from his only bad start of the season.
It was on 3 hours notice after Syndergaard was scratched last Thursday. Knocked out in the 5th inning, a 7-5 loss. Ender Inciarte leads things off for the Braves. Inciarte 2 for 4 with a leadoff home run last night. And he takes a fastball strike from Matt. Inciarte, then Phillips and Freeman for the Braves.
There's a lot of bad offensive numbers against Harvey, this Brave team. A lot of guys struggling off Matt, have not had success off him. You've got to worry about the 3 home runs that Kemp has hit off him,
including 2 in 1 game in Matt's first start this season. And a little tap of foul as Inciarte with an emergency hack stays alive.
That got d'Arnaud on the left shoulder.
No complaints.
Just got rolled up his forearm. Oh, yeah, still hurts.
Those were the numbers in that last start, capped by the Suzuki 3-run homer that knocked him out of the game.
Yeah, the 5 walks were alarming, but
Pulled out to short, and Cabrera throws out the speedy NCR save for the first out.
And your Met defense brought to you by Lexus. Lagares starting in center field gives them a better defensive outfield. Same guys, TJ Rivera getting a chance to play every day at first base, and so far has done admirably well over there with the glove. And d'Arnaud behind the plate.
5th straight start at first base for TJ Rivera. Here's Brandon Phillips, who had a 13-game hitting streak stopped last night when he went 0 for 4. Still 7th in the National League with that .338 average. And Harvey pours in a strike.
He got moved into the 2-hole with Swanson, the shortstop, struggling. Swanson started out in the 2-hole when the season started, but he's mired at 151, got dropped to the 8-hole.
Phillips lines a base hit. So after an 0 for last night, Phillips tries to get a new streak started. He's got a 1-out single.
No, he's always been a hitter. He goes the other way well here, and that's an example right there.
The other thing that you have to be aware of when you face the Braves, this is a team that likes to swing the bat. They don't walk much. They don't strike out much. They're really different than the evolution of hitting right now. They put the ball in play. They've tried to be a situational hitting team, and we see them do that successfully.
Last night, twice. They cashed in on 2 runs in both innings, getting a runner over and in.
Well, this is their best hitter, Freddie Freeman, 1 for 3 with a double last night, hitting a .379. And he fouls one away. It's 1-1. Well, they're the batting average leaders in the National League. Ryan Zimmerman just off to a ridiculous start, sitting on top. Justin Turner had a 16-game hitting streak stopped last night on the Giants.
Freeman only 4 for 24 career off of Harvey with no home runs.
In the air down the left field line, slicing away, foul.
Well, this is like a little kids park for the big giants that are playing out here.
It's .335 to that left field corner, but they've got the very short fence, only 6 feet high. That's where Jose Reyes hit his home run last night. And the fence is a little bit higher, .385 in left center field.
.385 is a long way. That's a good gap. But you get over to right center field, it's .375.
Close play at first, but Phillips got the hand back. And then in right field, it's only .325 down the line, but they do have the high fence there, which at least might cut down the cheap home runs a tad. 1-2 to Freeman, and Mike comes inside with a slider. 2-2.
There's some angles out there in that right field fence too. Right to the right of the .375 sign in that gap, there's an angle right there, as you can see. So the ball's going to kick out to center field on the right, and on the left it's going to kick straight back in. So visiting outfielders have had to come here, and the Mets certainly did, and get familiar.
And you've got different surfaces too. You've got the brick, you've got the padding, you've got the chain link where the fans can watch the game. So that affects the caroms as well. 2-2 coming, and Freeman yanks one foul.
And we mentioned last night, I mean, this is all a brand new park. The foul territory, I think, is pretty fair. It's not, I think it's still hitter friendly, but it's close to being 50-50.
Yeah, I think the difference here, like compared to Citi Field, is that the wide part of foul territory continues further down the line than it does in Flushing. Curveball misses from Harvey, and a full count to Freeman. Let's check in with Steve Gelb. Steve.
Guys, you were mentioning getting acquainted with the new outfield. One thing Curtis Granderson noticed yesterday is that the chain link fence here is not very tight, so it doesn't ricochet off as easily, and thus you can kind of go back there and wait for the ball to deaden against that wall.
3-2. Phillips runs, and Freeman cracks one to deep right field. Forget that. That's way out of here.
Oh, man.
Up on the party deck. A 2-run homer for Freeman, his 10th of the year. And that matches Jay Bruce's shot at the top of the inning to tie the game at 2. Freeman off to a big home run start. And in this ballpark, he might set a career high by the All-Star break.
10 home runs on the season, 16 RBI, and it's down and in. A slider that didn't break that much, and he turned on it.
Just crushed it. Now Matt Kemp takes breaking ball for a strike.
It's the 7th home run Harvey's given up this season.
A couple of those to Kemp in his first start at Citi Field. And the curveball misses low. 1-1. Well, Kemp has really stung all the Mets pitchers this season. He went 3 for 4 last night. He's hitting .423 against Mets pitching so far this year. This is already the 3rd series between the Mets and Braves. They played the first 2 at Citi Field, and now their first series here.
And when the Mets go home, they're going to play a 3rd series with the Marlins.
And then finally, after this Sunday, this stretch of, well, with the rain out, it will be 31 consecutive games against the National League East will come to an end.
And that'll bring in the San Francisco Giants.
Harvey behind on Kemp, 3-1. And it's up and away, ball 4. So after the home run by Freeman, a walk to Kemp. That walked 5 in his last start, including 1 intentional. So now we'll face Nick Markakis with a man on. It will be interesting if the ballpark continues to play like this to see how managers adjust. You know, they manage games differently at Coors Field than they do in other places in terms of how much rope they'll give a pitcher and how much they'll use the running game. It'll be interesting to see whether this park, if it proves to be this much of a bandbox, prompts them to go in the same direction. Here's Markakis, and he takes a fastball for a strike. Markakis drove in 2 runs with groundouts last night, went 0 for 4. Some of the situational baseball that Keith was talking about. Interesting thing is that the Braves are not built to be a big power hitting team. And they've got Freeman and Kemp who will hit some home runs. But Markakis is not the home run hitter that he once was before he had the neck surgery a couple of years ago. And they don't have a lot of other big power bats in their lineup.
No, I think that they're going to hit more home runs in this yard.
Yeah.
Can't help it.
The question is, will it hurt them more than help them?
Right. Good slider.
And Harvey strikes out Markakis for the 2nd out of the inning.
Down and in slide. Doesn't have to break much, as long as you get that down tilt.
So 2 out. Kemp still at first, and here's Adonis Garcia, who was 1 for 3 last night and drove in a couple of runs. Harvey already 22 pitches deep into this first inning. Dickey threw 25 in the first inning. Matt handles the comebacker. Garcia retired. Inning over, but not before Freddie Freeman ties the game with his 10th home run of the year. 2-2 after 1 here in Atlanta. Investors Bank, banking in your best interest. Jose Reyes swinging the bat much better these days, and says he was chasing a lot of bad pitches earlier in the year, and right now he's swinging it well.
Well, 10 for 27.
And 3 home runs during that stretch, all in the last 5 games, including one last night. In fact, the one he hit last night late in the game against Ian Kroll was his first hit as a right-hand batter this season.
Yes.
1-1 to Reyes. Well, Kurt Suzuki, an experienced catcher who is inexperienced at catching the knuckleball, and he is really fighting it tonight, which means that Dickey has great movement on that pitch. Garcia in on the grass at third, and Reyes takes ball 4, and the Mets get a leadoff walk from Dickey for the 2nd straight inning. Ray with an extra glance in at David Rackley, the home plate umpire. Rackley has the plate. The crew chief Larry Vanover at first, Alfonso Marquez and David Fairchild, or excuse me, Chad Fairchild, round out the crew. Only his friends call him David. Here's TJ Rivera. DJ starting his 5th straight game at first base. Wilmer Flores is playing his first rehab game at Las Vegas tonight after being moved up from St. Lucie, so he should be back fairly soon. Lucas Duda just started hitting off a tee again after being set back with his elbow issue, and so he is further away from returning. And Suzuki just trying to figure out how to stop that ball.
Well, it makes for a very stressful night behind the plate, does it not? Especially when men are on base.
And a pickoff try, and Dickey came pretty close to getting Reyes. One thing about Dickey, he's quick to the plate. He's quick to first base. He's not as easy to run on as a knuckleballer should be. And really concentrating on Jose, who has 3 stolen bases so far this year.
You have to pay his attention to Jose. He's a little bit older now, but he's still a stolen base threat.
TJ takes the knuckleball inside. Well, one thing about any base runner, the way Suzuki is struggling to catch the ball, you really got to be on your toes tonight.
And I also feel that you could steal, because knuckleball is not a high velocity pitch, and he's going to have to focus on catching it and then releasing.
And again, Dickey comes close to picking Reyes off. Jose's got to be a little more wary over there. It's twice Dickey's almost gotten him.
Little snap move.
And Freeman thought maybe there was a chance he got him.
Well, there's the disadvantage of a right-handed first baseman. Such an easier, quicker tag if the glove's in the right hand.
And Suzuki barely managed to corral that one. And now, after a leadoff walk to Reyes, Dickey's gone 3-0 to Rivera. I believe that Kurt Suzuki is going to be seeing that knuckleball in his nightmares tonight. And the fastball misses low, ball 4. So Dickey issues back-to-back walks to start the 2nd inning. 3 walks to the first 7 batters from RA.
He is having a hard time finding the strike zone, and he's not getting that low strike from David Rackley behind the plate. I can call him David.
You call Rackley David because his name is David. Just can't call Chad Fairchild David because, you know, it's not his name. So now it's Juan Lagares, who came off the bench last night with a hustle double. Getting the start in center field tonight, and he gets a first pitch fastball for a strike. So RA trying to get ahead now after back-to-back walks.
Well, Lagares sure would be an asset if he can find that hitting form that he had a couple years ago.
24 at bats so far this year, just 4 for 24. The oblique injury during spring training that delayed the start to his season. Matt Harvey on deck. Dickey ahead in the count 0-2. And the knuckleball outside 1-2. Dickey, when he was in his Cy Young form, was not walking people. In fact, for his career, he's walked fewer than 3 per 9 innings. He's already walked 3 in an inning plus tonight. Right back to Dickey, a chance for 2. Phillips with the turn. Just barely got him. Now we'll wait to see if the Mets challenge this call. Larry Vanover on the look and listen play at first base as Lagares was hustling down the line.
I thought he beat it. Let's see.
He's going to stick around and wait for the Mets to challenge, which Terry Collins will.
Well, no wasted effort, time on both guys on that play. Dickey gets rid of it quick. So does Phillips, and it's clearly safe.
Dickey, former Gold Glover, did everything that he could, but there's one thing about Lagares, and we talked about it last night, he is always hustling out of the box, and that makes the difference if he's able to beat this play out.
2 Gold Glovers on that play. Phillips with 4 in his career, but Lagares can just motor. And there it is right there, plain as can be. Shouldn't take very long.
Ted Barrett's crew and Jeff Nelson's crew are in the replay center. Play under review brought to you by Mazda. Driving matters. And you would presume from the angles we've seen that the call is going to be overturned. And the Mets then would have first and third and 1 out with Matt Harvey coming up.
Now, early in last night's game, we had right off the get-go 2 real quick decisions from Chelsea. I don't know why this one's taking so long.
Certainly did not appear to hit the interior of the glove before Lagares' foot hit the bag, and that's been the case on each angle we've seen, but perhaps they have other angles that we're not seeing that provide some ambiguity.
All right, come on, let's go.
Or that or the headsets aren't working.
Jeez.
Here we go, and they do overturn the call, so the Mets win the challenge. Lagares is safe at first, so it's a 1-4 fielder's choice. And the Mets have runners at the corners with 1 out, and Harvey coming up, and we'll see how Terry Collins chooses to play this. Harvey 0 for 11 at the plate this year. Lifetime 121 hitter. You've got speed on the bases with Reyes at third and Lagares at first. First and third and 1 out. And Harvey does square and takes the knuckleball for a strike.
Do you know how hard it must be to bunt a knuckleball? It's hard enough to hit it with a full swing. But I think when you're sitting there exposed, you know, fronting the pitcher with your bat out there, it's got to be difficult to bunt.
Well, I guess think of it this way. You're taught when you bunt to try and catch the ball on your bat.
Right.
Well, if the catcher can't catch it, then how are you supposed to catch it on your bat?
Well, we need Buddy Harrelson up here to tell us.
Now it's 0-2 to Matt. We'll see if the bunt is still on. Michael Conforto on deck. Of course, the last thing you want is a double play in this spot that takes you out of the inning, which is one of the reasons why you bunt in this spot.
Right, and you got the red hot Conforto.
He is swinging and he lines one. Oh, by Phillips, another one. 2 of them last night. Rising line drives, 1 caught by Phillips and 1 by Freeman, and now another one cost the Mets a run for the moment as Harvey hit a bullet and Phillips able to bring it down.
Whoa, man, very unfortunate there. How about Matt handling the bat with 2 strikes? Not as high as the other one yesterday, but still.
Literally, Lagares diving back into the bag to avoid the double play.
All good all the way around. Great play in the field. Good base running.
So now Conforto with first and third and 2 out. Michael walked and scored a run in the first. And that trickles away from Suzuki, but not far enough for either runner to move.
Well, Conforto had a 2-out RBI single last night. Look at him, 16 RBIs on the season.
And a lot of that now in the leadoff spot.
And he hasn't started every game.
He will now.
Yes, sir. Good cut.
Lifted down the line, slicing away, and that'll go foul. 1-1 to Conforto. Eagles now had 60 at bats. Guys who are playing every day are in the 90s now.
Right, close to 100, depending on the walks.
Dickey walked the first 2 hitters in the inning, but since then he's been working ahead in the count. He's 0-2 on Conforto. And it's lined right to the shortstop. A one-hopper for Swanson. And he throws out Conforto. That ends the inning. So Dickey walks the first 2 hitters in the inning, but is able to get through it. To the bottom of the second, tied at 2. Second against Matt Harvey. Suzuki has 1 home run this year, and it came against Harvey in his last start. And he takes a strike. Suzuki 6 for 33 on the year. Backup catcher now to Tyler Flowers, who played last night and has been hitting very well. Gave up a 2-run homer to Freddie Freeman in the first inning. 7 home runs now in 31 innings against Harvey this year. He's a guy who, through his career, has been very stingy at giving up home runs. Top toward third. Tough play for Reyes. So make the bare hand play, and he throws it wide. Stays in play. And Suzuki is safe at first. That'll be an infield hit for Kurt Suzuki.
No, we always talk about Reyes playing very deep at third base. So really an unwise choice to throw, but it's the inexperience of Jose at third base. Of course, we all know he's a shortstop.
Just fortunate that ball stayed in play, didn't go in the dugout. Otherwise, Suzuki would have wound up at second. So now Dansby Swanson, the number 8 hitter. Swanson 0 for 3 last night as his offensive struggles continue, hitting .151 for the year.
10 for 78 against right-handers. That's 128 BA. That's a struggle. Still like him.
Well, he hit .302 in 38 games when he came up last year. Had few enough at bats that he still qualifies as a rookie this season. Has played well defensively for the most part, but really struggled at the plate. Good slider by Harvey. Ball and a strike.
You know, we had Marlon Anderson, the former Met, in here before the game with Gary and I in the booth, and we were talking about Dansby Swanson and how I've always said you come up from AAA in a groove and you carry it into the season, you know, late in the season with the big leagues, and then you start the next year with expectations and you're starting from scratch. It's a whole different ball game.
And it has to be, at least in part, because when you come up late in the season and nobody's seen you before, they don't really have a chance to adjust to whatever your weakness might be.
And you can go on a roll because you're coming up in a groove, and a lot of it's mental. You don't want this kid to get crushed confidence wise, but you look up on the board and you see that 151 batting average. You know, it's embarrassing. I've been in his boots before.
The Braves consider Swanson an enormous piece of their future. Made the trade with Arizona to get him after he was the #1 overall pick in the draft just 2 years ago, coming out of Vanderbilt. Braves have a host of young talent in the minor leagues, and he is the front wave. Off the plate, and Harvey again goes from ahead in the count to a full count.
Matt hasn't used his changeup early so far. He's been primarily throwing the fastball and the slider.
He went full on Freeman, who took him deep in the last inning. Suzuki at first and nobody out. He's running. Swanson breaks his back, grounds it to Reyes. His only play will be to first, and it's scooped out by Rivera for the first out as Suzuki takes second.
Well, the Mets on the infield are a little bit challenged. You got Rivera over there, who's not a first baseman, makes a nice pick here. It's a short hop, but nonetheless he makes the play. You've got Cabrera at shortstop, who's got some achy legs, is not covering a lot of ground up the middle. I think Walker's, I wonder if his back is bothering him, and it's carried over to this season. He seems to have missed a little bit of range. Lost a little bit of range, excuse me.
Well, here's Dickey, who's already driven in 4 runs this year. Dickey's 2 for 10, but with 4 RBIs. No 40-year-old pitcher, 40 or older, has ever had this many RBIs this early in a season. You know, what's interesting about that last play, too, is that there was a time in a 3-2 situation with Matt Harvey on the mound and, you know, a not fast runner at first base. You would never send the runner because Matt was such a strikeout pitcher.
Right.
He's not that guy anymore.
No, he's not.
At least not for the moment. I mean, Harvey has averaged this year just 5.5 strikeouts per 9 innings, and those strikeout numbers have gone down every year of his career.
Well, he's rated right now 99th out of the 107 major league pitchers pitching qualifiers. But you know, to me, it's all about getting outs. I don't care how you get them. Just get outs and win ball games.
Grounded to short. Cabrera runs around the backhand, and the throw gets Dickey, and Suzuki holds at second. Dickey's got a bad wheel right now. He really can't get down the line after tweaking that quad covering first base at Citi Field. So it's natural he would be cautious.
Yeah, you can tell. Just nope.
So 2 out. Suzuki still at second, and here's Inciarte, who grounded out to short his first time up. Trainer coming over to check on RA. Inciarte drives one to left center field, deep in the gap. Lagares won't get there, and the Braves take the lead. Suzuki in to score. Inciarte pulls in with an RBI double, and it's 3-2 Atlanta.
Well, when you play that in outfield in tight, which a lot of clubs are doing today, and that's a fly ball. And it should be caught. Change up, got it up, stayed in. A lot of responsibility for Lagares to cover some ground there, and Conforto playing shallow. To me, that's a fly ball double. I'm sorry. That's got to be played at normal depth if you're going to make that play.
So a 2-out RBI for Inciarte. And Atlanta has the lead. Now it's Brandon Phillips, who had a base hit his first time up. And he goes down to a knee as Harvey throws a slider. Check swing foul, 0-2. Another nick for Travis d'Arnaud. Off his foot.
Yeah, got him downstairs.
He's got one off the arm, one off the foot. It's only the second inning. Harvey ahead on Phillips, 0-2. And slider off the plate, 1-2. Freddie Freeman waits on deck. Nobody covering.
It's really good to see Matt in such good shape. I have not seen him this fit in a few years.
One, two. Buries that slider. 2-2. Well, those are the career numbers for Matt Harvey. Career that began so blazingly in 2012 and an All-Star in 2013, but then the Tommy John surgery and the comeback from Tommy John, and then last year terrible beginning and then shut down with the thoracic outlet surgery. 2-2. Pulled down to third. Reyes gets in front of it, makes the long throw on target, and that retires the side. But the Braves take the lead on Inciarte's 2-out RBI double. 3-2 Atlanta after 2. Customizable experience with the MLB.com and Bat app. Get New York Mets home screen icons and app features, as well as game day, live game video highlights, radio broadcast, StatCast, and more. Download MLB.com and Bat today. Asdrubal Cabrera leads off in the third inning. Mets now down by a run. Cabrera struck out his first time up. Jay Bruce and Neil Walker to follow. Against R.A. Dickey, who's given up only one hit. Bruce's 2-run homer in the first, but R.A. has walked 3, so he's had plenty of difficulty to contend with.
He's been falling behind a lot of hitters.
And now he's behind on Cabrera, 3-0.
You know what's interesting, Garrett? All my playing days when you played against Phil Niekro or knuckleballer, it always seems to slow the game down in so many ways. And not because they're throwing a lot of pitches, is that even as a hitter, you have to really slow down the process. Throwing the soft knuckleball, you can't get too excited and jump. Everything has to slow down.
Cabrera clocks one to deep right field. Markakis goes back, takes a look, and it's out of here. Asdrubal Cabrera launches a home run, his third of the year, to tie the game. Get it in the air to right field. It's a great strategy in this ballpark. I mean, that ball just flew. I mean, he hit it well, but it went 50 feet beyond the fence.
We had 3 home runs last night and 3 home runs today, folks, and only one did an outfielder have a chance to make the play, and the other 5, the outfielders don't even bother to go chase it back. This is smallish.
Ish.
Lilliputian.
So here's Bruce, who homered his first time up.
Well, there's a no-doubter here. That's a fastball. And he covered it.
Bruce pops one up into shallow center. Swanson out. Inciarte in, and Swanson goes back to get it. That's the first out of the inning. Neil Walker coming up. Let's go to Steve Gelbs' report tonight is brought to you by Volkswagen. Steve?
Gary, well, as we've seen at multiple times tonight, Kurt Suzuki learning to catch that knuckleball. Still somewhat of a work in progress. And Suzuki said that R.A. Dickey told him the most important thing to do is to really get up on your toes as a catcher. Suzuki had a tendency to sit back on his heels, didn't allow him to react as quickly as that ball danced. But Suzuki also said he's really had to adjust his mindset as a catcher. You're used to putting down your glove and expecting the ball to be there, but when you're catching a knuckleball, you almost have to let it all go, and at the last second do everything you can to just catch it.
Well, that makes perfect sense when you got a ball, Steve, that you don't know where it's going to break, which direction, and it breaks late, so you must be on your toes.
It's like catching a butterfly with the tweezers.
They're big tweezers there.
Walker rolls one. Dickey hobbles off the mound and can't play it cleanly. Well, that quad injury certainly affected Dickey there. He just could not get off the mound quickly enough to play that ball cleanly, and Walker is aboard.
I wonder if he got distracted. Watch how close they are here. Walker hustling down the line. He slipped. You see his foot just kind of skidded. Right there, his front foot, that right foot skidded.
They'll give Walker credit for a base hit.
Thank you very much, says Mr. Walker.
So there's the Mets' third hit against Dickey. The first 2 were home runs. That one a 40-foot dribbler. Now d'Arnaud, who struck out his first time, and he takes one inside. d'Arnaud, after his 2 home run game in Washington, has now gone 0 for his last 8. Hitting a .211 on the year. And he gets under one to left. This one's playable for count. And that's the second out. was interesting, Keith. When that ball went up in the air, it was directly to Kemp, but Inciarte, the center fielder, went sprinting across the outfield as though he were expecting Kemp maybe to have trouble with the lights. I don't know. Again, it's a new ballpark. I don't think everybody knows exactly how it's going to play, but watch Inciarte and how he comes over to help.
Or that's just good hustle. Maybe they're getting gun shy with this bandbox of a park. Anything in the air, my goodness, it might go. Everybody talks about the home runs, Gary, and there's been 6 hit in these first 2 games. But we were talking earlier, it's the fly balls that guys get under that are caught at the warning track.
You know, everybody's going to have to adjust to that. I would imagine at some point the outfielders start playing deeper. As Reyes takes a strike, 1-1. And Sage will walk his first time up, and he stops to question the home plate umpire David Rackley about the last call. Walker at first with 2 down. 3-3 game in the 3rd. And Jose hits a topper. Dickey with an easier play this time throws out Reyes to end the inning. But the Mets get even on Asdrubal Cabrera's 3rd home run of the year. We go to the bottom of the 3rd, tied at 3. Game. Freddie Freeman will lead off against Matt Harvey, who's given up 3 runs and 4 hits over the first 2 innings. Freeman took him deep his first time and fouls off a breaking ball to start him off.
He hit the home run on a breaking ball that Matt got up, got it in, but belt high. And there's that very effective changeup from Harvey.
Freeman, Kemp, and Markakis for the Braves in the 3rd. Game that's already seen 3 home runs through the first 2.5 innings. Well, Freddie Freeman, one of the elite first basemen in baseball. That's drilled toward the gap in left center. Lagares though ranges over and makes the catch. Freeman hit it hard, but Lagares with a good first step able to get there. 1 out. So tomorrow we're going to have a wide-ranging conversation on the first baseman of today.
National League, or?
Well, we can start with the National League, but we can range as far as you'd like.
Well, I'm going to have to mine the internet tonight, I guess.
I'll send you some video.
Well, Goldschmidt comes to mind, doesn't he? Doesn't he?
Well, let's not jump the gun here.
Okay.
Come on.
All right.
We're all set up to do this tomorrow. Here's Matt Kemp. And he lines one to center field. In comes Lagares, and he picks that one off. So 2 line drives to center. 2-1 Lagares putouts. So Matt Harvey has a chance for his first 1-2-3 inning as he takes on Nick Markakis, who is Matt's only strikeout victim in the first inning. One thing you'd have to say about Harvey tonight compared to that last start last Thursday afternoon against the Braves is that his mechanics look better. The ball just was coming out of his hand weirdly, just was all over the place in that last start. And afterward, Matt told the world that he had had a hard workout the day before because he didn't know he was going to be called upon to pitch, and that it messed with the way he felt on the mound, and perhaps that was why. In any event, regular rest today, no short notice, and although he has certainly not had a pristine effort so far, the ball certainly appears to be coming out of his hand more normally.
Well, I don't think that he has his real good fastball tonight. He's a different pitcher, and he's turned into a pitcher. I think a lot of these guys come up. Kerry Wood comes to mind when he first came up, that big strikeout game he had. You cannot throw 1,000 miles an hour. It won't last that long. So interesting to see the progression that Harvey has made moving forward.
3-2 to Markakis, and he got him with the changeup at his feet. That retires the side. Second time he struck out Markakis, and Harvey has his first 1-2-3 inning. Braves tied at 3. T.J. Rivera leads off the 4th against R.A. Dickey. And takes a knuckleball for a strike. T.J. drew a walk his first time up. Rivera, Lagares, and Harvey 7, 8, and 9 in the order against Dickey, who's given up 2 home runs tonight to Bruce and Cabrera. Rivera fouls it back. 0-2.
TJ had an RBI single last night.
And Rivera lines one to right. Marquez coming on, sliding to make the catch. One out.
Well, I think we've seen enough, Garrett, with a lot of teams now playing shallow outfield and shallower outfield, and a lot of base hits taken away. Nice play by Marquez.
Now Lagares, who hit into a fielder's choice his first time, and he grounds one out to second. Phillies make the play, and quickly they're 2 out. Now SunTrust Park, 41,000 capacity, $672 million expenditure, different kind of grass that they also use in Miami and Houston, softer and thicker, although it certainly appears as though it has been a fast infield. I'm sure it's working quite the way it's supposed to.
Well, it's like a putting green out there. They've got it really cut close.
And it seems as though that's the norm everywhere now.
It's all for the hitter, as far as I can see. Love to play in today's game.
Well, I mean, you had AstroTurf to play on, which was even faster than this.
Yeah, but the parks were a little bigger. Just trying to think, in the East you had Philly, Pittsburgh, Montreal, St. Louis with turf. 4 teams. In the West you had Houston, Cincinnati, and that was it. San Francisco for 2 years, and that didn't last long.
2-2 to Harvey, and Matt chases the knuckleball for strike 3. So Dickey has his first 1-2-3 inning. Still 3-3 in Atlanta.
New SunTrust Park, Mets and Braves tied up at 3, and a brand new park means a brand new state-of-the-art clubhouse for the Atlanta Braves. 27,000 square feet. I don't know why anybody would ever come out of this lounge. They've got games. They've got 13 luxury chairs. Do the Braves, 5 big screen TVs. And those walls, they open up with drawers that are full of games for these guys to play. And that's just the tip of the iceberg for these Atlanta Braves. They also have 2 rooms in the back for those that don't want to deal with as much commotion. They have a quiet room that has aromatherapy scented candles and 4 massage chairs. And then, Keith, how about this one? How would you have liked this? Multiple bunk beds in a room called a sleep room for these guys, for those who want to take a nap.
I would have been a regular resident on a Sunday afternoon game. I would have gone into there and said, Davey, can I not have BP? I'm going to go to the bunk bed.
I don't recall aromatherapy in places like Tiger Stadium or County Stadium. I recall lockers with a nail to hang your stuff on. I mean, that's just incredible how far we've come. 3-1 to Adonis Garcia leading off the bottom of the 4th.
I wonder if Marvin Miller ever imagined that. Gosh. So the bunk, to me, the bunk beds. Look at that clubhouse. Look at
they have a pool table in the middle of the clubhouse.
Yeah.
That's nice amenity.
I don't know if I would like that, because you got the crack of the balls when that to me would be a little annoying.
Well, guys, they need something to entice the players to come into the area where the media is.
Line into center field, a base hit for Garcia leading off in the home 4th. So the Braves have the leadoff man on for the 2nd time.
I used to stay out late a few times on a Saturday night, and I'd come in and I'd tell Davey, can I just not take BP today? And I would go into the back doctor's office, and there was an examination table that I would put a blanket over me and sleep. And I'd tell the trainer, Steve Garland, and Bob Sykes to wake me up at 12 noon for the 1 o'clock game. But if I had a bed, I'd have had a much better sleep.
What if your teammates wanted to take a nap? What happened then? Did you have to fight for the trainer's table?
Hey, I was a veteran. They had to take a back seat to me. I was the only one. I mean, I did that more than a few times. I had to get a taste of the apple. Come on, Garrett.
Well, you took a big bite of the apple, didn't you?
I had good games with limited sleep. I didn't do it all the time.
Well, there are the bunk beds in the back. Got the ladder for the guys to climb up to the top bunk.
Jeez. Sweet.
You a top bunk guy or a bottom?
That'd be on the bottom. Didn't want to, even though they had the rail so you couldn't roll off and fall. You notice that. It's a very good safety feature.
Have to protect the players. Bubble wrap and all. 1-1 to Suzuki. There goes Garcia, and Suzuki is hit by the pitch.
Was that going to be a hit and run? I think so.
Well, Garcia was on the move, and then Suzuki got drilled. He's had enough of a rough time today trying to catch the knuckleball, and now he takes a shot.
Well, fastball ran in. Oh, got him in the tummy.
Something that does not happen often.
Now there's a case for doing your sit-ups.
Hey, you worry about a broken rib on a play like that.
I think it got him below. I think it got him in the muscle area below the rib.
Neil Walker is arguing
I don't
that
think so.
Suzuki swung at the pitch.
Here comes Terry Collins.
He's going to join the conversation.
Is this something that they can challenge?
No.
Okay. I don't think he swung.
Larry Vanover is the crew chief and first base umpire, and if he says no, then the answer is going to be no.
Okay.
So Suzuki's okay. He's going to first base. So let's see whether perhaps he swung.
No.
He started the bat forward and it came all the way through, so that's a hard call, right?
It is a hard call.
Because he allowed the bat to continue through because he got hit.
Right.
But the bat did come all the way through. So that I think the Mets certainly have a case.
And I certainly think the Braves have a case.
Larry Vanover's case is the one that wins. So Harvey has himself a mess. First and second, nobody out. He does have the 8-9 hitters coming up. Dansby Swanson broke his bat and grounded out to third his first time up. Garcia at second, Suzuki at first. 3-3 game in the 4th, and Harvey trying to keep it tied with the 8-hitter up. Dickey due up next. And nobody up in the Braves bullpen. Dickey is out on deck. And he misses outside, ball 1. Second straight uneven start for Matt against the Braves. 6 runs and 4 1/3 last Thursday. And now in a 3-3 game in the 4th tonight. And Swanson went around.
Good slider right there, 1-0.
Run to the bag, and then time is asked for. I'm not sure who asked for time. Was it Swanson? Walker was at the bag, was backing away as Harvey delivered that pitch, but it's no pitch.
I think there was a pickoff there that was the sign was missed by Mr. Harvey.
So perhaps it was d'Arnaud who asked for time. In any event,
because Walker vacated the whole right side of the infield. Very heads up by d'Arnaud.
in at the knees for a strike at 95. Harvey has not thrown his fastball much.
That's the best one he's thrown today. Down and with a little zip on it.
About to throw his 65th pitch, working with nobody out of the 4th. He's ahead on Swanson, 1-2. And backhanded by d'Arnaud on the slider, 2-2. Garcia at second, Suzuki at first. Single and a hit by pitch, putting 2 men aboard for the Braves. And again, a look at second. This time Walker was close to, but not at the bag. Garcia's been dancing around as he takes his lead off second base. Two coming. And it's low and away. Another slider from Matt. Full count. This has happened repeatedly tonight, where Matt's gotten ahead of the count and then tried to tease the hitter with sliders and gone to a full count.
I don't think he was trying to tease. I don't think he was able. The slider was a strikeout pitch twice in a row, and he wasn't able to execute the pitch. So we'll see. I don't think the runners will go in motion with Swanson in such a slump.
3-2 and nobody out there running, and it's outside, ball 4, and Swanson draws a walk. So now the hole gets deeper for Harvey. Bases loaded, nobody out, with the pitcher Dickey coming up. Second walk given up by Matt, and that'll earn him a visit from Dan Worth. Pitchers, whether it's Dickey or Santana or Harvey, DeGrom, Syndergaard, Familia, Reed, and on and on. It's been here for nearly a decade. Mets will get the bullpen cranking. Josh Smoker is up. Dickey at the plate, bases loaded, nobody out. Grounded out to short his first time up. And a chopper, a tough play, and Harvey will have a play at first with Dickey unable to run hard, but a run comes home and the Braves regain the lead 4-3. Well, the only thing that prevented that from being an infield hit for Dickey is the fact that he just can't run. on the bad quad.
5th RBI in 5 games. He's living right. Boy, and he also advanced both runners into scoring position.
So it's 4-3 Atlanta. 2nd and 3rd and 1 out, and Inciarte coming up. Inciarte drove a double to left center to get the Braves a lead in the 2nd inning. It's tied it on Cabrera's home run in the 3rd, but now Atlanta's gone back in front. Mets have the infield back. They'll concede a run on another ground ball. Inciarte fouls off the fastball, 0-1. Well, you figure Matt gets this batter and one more, but if it gets to Freeman in this inning, you have to figure Smoker's in the game.
A double. Well, there's no chance for a double play here. 2nd and 3rd. Forgive me.
Fouled away, and in a situation where he needs a strikeout, dialing it up to 98 miles an hour, fastest pitch he's thrown all night.
He's got a good little lift upstairs, and this is what you have to do. Ronnie was talking about this the other night, is humping up when you're in trouble, putting a little something, reaching back for something extra when you need that out.
Spectrum high-speed pitch at 98. 0-2 now to Inciarte. That's too high. Pitch of the inning upcoming for Matt. 1-2.
And Inciarte lines it into right field for a base hit. Suzuki scores. Swanson heads home. Bruce's throw is cut off. A 2-run single for Ender Inciarte, who just continues to plague the Mets. A 3-1 4th inning against Harvey, and the Braves lead 6-3.
Well, the pitch was pretty doggone good pitch. Slider down and in. And you just got to give the hitter some credit here. He went down and got it. It's a good pitch. Well, this is a base hit all the way. I don't know what you're hesitating about. I just see that so often. Just not good base running, not aware where the outfielder is. So no one was going to catch that ball.
3 RBIs for Inciarte tonight. And the Braves lead 6-3. Now it's Phillips, who's 1 for 2, and this may well be Harvey's final batter of the night, with Freddie Freeman on deck. Field side not a play. 0-1 Phillips. Now back-to-back disappointing starts for Matt Harvey. He had an excuse in the last one, finding out he was going to pitch 3 hours before the start. Not the case tonight. 6 runs and 6 hits inside of 4 innings. Now with Syndergaard gone for the time being, other than Jacob deGrom, the Mets starting pitching has been far less than they thought it was going to be when the year began. deGrom has held up his end, but nobody else has really gone along with him.
That's why they play the games.
Phillips swinging out of his shoes. 1-2. A couple of those swings tonight. Mets incredibly began the night with the 3rd worst ERA in the National League. Giving up 23 runs in one game has a lot to do with that.
Pilecki's a culprit too.
Grounded down to first. Rivera gets the out at first. Now they got a rundown on Inciarte. And Walker puts on the tag, and he got him to end the inning. 3-6, 3-4 on the double play, and that puts an end to the bottom of the fourth. But not before the Braves score 3 times and take a 6-3 lead after 4. Last 4 years plus 50 or more losses.
Gosh, I wouldn't even know where to begin.
Probably begin at the bottom.
That would be probably right.
Michael Conforto leads off in the 5th. Mets down by 3, and he takes a strike from R.A. Dickey. Dickey's given up a couple of home runs tonight, but now he's got a 3-run lead. 3rd time around the batting order. Conforto was walked and grounded out. It would have to be a good pitcher for a bad team, right, to have that many losses. But it would have to be also somebody who has a lot of decisions. I'm thinking maybe Dickey might be on that list, pitching in Toronto.
Yes.
That's drilled into right field. A base hit for Conforto.
Michael continues to swing the bat well. He has the Mets' 4th hit of the night, and he's on base to lead off in the 5th.
This Sunday, May 7th, McDonald's Family Sunday. The Mets take on the Marlins at 1:10. The first 15,000 fans in attendance will receive a pair of Neil Walker batting gloves presented by WOR 710 AM. Plus, after the game, all kids 12 and under can run the bases in the Mr. Met Dash, courtesy of Northwell Health. For tickets, visit Mets.com/Family Sundays. Now is Dribble Cabrera, who launched his 3rd home run of the year his last time up. 1 for 2 on the night.
Whoa.
And Suzuki battles that to a draw.
A 3-1 fastball that Cabrera connected on for that home run.
Now, as a hitter, if you're facing a knuckleball pitcher, are there certain counts where you look for fastballs? Can you afford to do that?
I always 3-1, 2-0. Absolutely. Can be more certain of a fastball. Not necessarily true. Niekro would if the game wasn't close. If it was close, Niekro had the confidence. I'm talking about Phil. And his brother Joe had the confidence to throw it 3-1. But I never really I anticipated a knuckleball. I was always ready just in case Phil tried to sneak one by me.
Well, 3-0 here with a man on. You have to figure Dickey's going to throw a fastball here.
Right, and you got to worry about, well, you know, down 3 runs. Will Terry give him a hit sign? Terry's really, of all the managers I've seen, he gives the 3-0 hit sign.
Jay Bruce on deck. And knuckleball on 3-0, and Cabrera's on. So there's the 4th walk given up by Dickey, and the Mets get the tying run to bat with Jay Bruce. So Dickey being careful there to Cabrera after Asdrubal took him deep his last time. Well, here's Bruce back in the 1st.
That was a fastball, I believe.
That was a 1-0 pitch that Bruce hit out of the ballpark. His 8th home run of the year. Flailing with the knuckleball for strike 1.
A lot of base runners in this game. It's just kind of slowly moving along here, but methodically, this game is far from over.
Fordo at second, Cabrera at first, and Bruce watches outside, a ball on the strike.
Particularly in this ballpark. This is like a wind blowing out at Wrigley where a lead is never safe.
Well, that makes it that much more incumbent on the pitchers not to walk people. Turn those solo homers into 2- and 3-run homers. Bruce pops one up into shallow center, and Inciarte will come in under it. And that's the first out of the inning. It's a big out for Dickey. One away, runner still at first and second, and Neil Walker coming up. Walker nubbed one up the first baseline, and Dickey fell down trying to pick it up. It went for an infield hit in the 3rd inning. Neil 1 for 2 on the night. Dickey threw only 67 pitches in his last start against the Mets last Thursday in 5 innings. Came out in part because of the quad issue. Got to throw his 80th pitch in this game. And Suzuki manages to stay with that one. Ball 1. He had walked only a total of 9 batters in his first 4 starts this year, but 4 walks in 4 1/3 innings tonight. And the knuckleball lined, short hop by Phillips. He bobbles in, then gets the out at second, and sliding in safely at 3rd is Conforto, who had to hold up thinking that might be a line drive. So it goes as a 4-6 fielder's choice, and the Mets wind up with runners at the corners and 2 out.
Well, fortunate for the Mets that Phillips didn't field it cleanly. That was a tailor-made double play. Tough in between hop. And makes a nice recovery. Nice little backhand flip. 4 Gold Gloves.
So now a 2-out chance for Travis d'Arnaud, who's 0 for 2 tonight. Struck out and flied out. Conforto with 3rd, Walker at first with 2 out.
Oh.
And that was a potential wild pitch that Suzuki managed to corral. That saved a run. This is a night when Kurt Suzuki is going to take a long bath when the game is over.
Maybe
drilled in the midsection by a pitch and chasing knuckleballs all night. Now it's 2-0 to d'Arnaud. Is that a strike?
Strike. Woo. I thought it was a ball too, Gare.
Sure, d'Arnaud did as well. That's a ball, as Suzuki keeps the ball in front of him, which is really all that you can ask. And d'Arnaud trying to measure it. Comes up empty, and it's 2-2. Dickey has struck out 3 tonight. He's walked 4, given up 3 runs and 4 hits. Jose Reyes would be next.
Well, you've got to throw your knuckleball here, even with the catcher back there struggling.
Looped shallow right. Markakis diving, and he made the catch. Another terrific play by Nick Markakis to get Dickey through the inning.
Jeez. This is a better play than the first one, Gare. And it saves a run. That's big league.
Markakis keeps the Mets off the board, leaving his feet. Body language by Dickey pays off. New York Mets baseball on SNY is brought to you by Verizon. Only Verizon makes Tuesday night baseball better by rewarding their customers with exclusive ballpark access and experiences. Visit sny.tv/Verizon to learn how you can access and reward like these lucky fans. Matt Harvey behind on Freddie Freeman 2-0 as we start the bottom of the fifth. Freeman hit a two-run homer in the first, lined out to center field in the third. And a fastball misses, and Matt falls behind 3-0. Harvey's been in trouble all night long. He's only had one clean inning, and in that one he gave up two hard-hit line drives to the outfield that were caught. And now he walks Freeman on 4 pitches to start the fifth. And that'll get the bullpen cranking again for New York. Third walk issued by Harvey. He's also hit a batter. Last two starts combined. The numbers both against the Braves add up to ugliness for Matt Harvey. Not what he's been accustomed to throughout his career.
Well, to me, the walks are most alarming.
And then there's the home runs, not pictured there. He's now given up 7 home runs this season. This is his 6th start. Here's Matt Kemp, who's walked in line to center. He takes the changeup for ball 1. Mets 3 runs, 4 hits. The Braves 6 runs and 6 hits. And Fernando Salas goes to work in the Mets bullpen. And that's 6 in a row out of the strike zone from Harvey to start the inning.
Flat slider. Let's just see the motion here. Driving off the back leg. I don't see anything wrong with that. That last slider, he dropped his arm down. It was a flat slider. That's a sign. It's not a good sign.
Ball just fouled by Kemp. Endured a few of these last year, but turned out he was operating without
full feeling in his hand as a result of that thoracic outlet syndrome, which led to surgery. Grounded down to third, foul ball. But there's no reason to think that he is not fully healthy this year. It's just that you don't know what to expect from a pitcher coming back from that surgery, because there just haven't been too many cases of a pitcher trying to do that. And you don't exactly know what to expect this year from that.
I would have to agree with you there, Gare, because I can't say anything definitively up here about the comeback from that surgery.
That's drilled to left field. Conforto, though, raging over and makes the catch. Kemp hit that ball hard. Conforto makes the grab. Second time Kemp's been retired on a line drive out. One away. Matt Harvey, the 7th overall pick, coming out of the University of North Carolina in 2010. Splashed on the scene in 2012 with 10 starts. All-Star. Started the All-Star game at Citi Field in 2013. Nick Markakis has been up twice, struck out both times. And when you think back, despite all the controversy that Matt had to go through in 2015 because of the question about innings limits coming back from Tommy John, he really had a remarkable season that year, going all the way down to his last start in the World Series. 0-2 to Markakis. He had to deal with a lot of bad publicity, some of which was of his own volition and some not, and fought his way through it, took the baseball every time he was asked to down the stretch and into the postseason, and threw more innings than any pitcher ever had coming off Tommy John, as it turned out, when you include the postseason.
Right. And you wonder what effect it's had on the starting staff, those extra playoff games, both DeGrom, who's had surgery, Syndergaard, and Matt.
Well, tomorrow DeGrom gets the baseball against former Met Bartolo Colon, your City probables. Zach Wheeler goes Thursday night against the lefty Jaime Garcia in the final game of the road trip.
Wheeler's been throwing well. I mean, he's walked a lot of guys. He throws a lot of pitches.
1-2. And Markakis gets under one to right. Bruce waiting for it. And that's the second out. Freeman stays at first.
But I think that Wheeler has had better command than I've ever seen, particularly with his breaking stuff. You know, it's been 2 years since he's been on the mound. I think he's pitching remarkably well.
And then the question is going to be for Zach as the season goes along. How many innings will they allow him to throw after missing 2 years following Tommy John surgery? And for a staff that is now thinned out far more than they could have ever expected, that's going to be an issue too. Dribbled foul. Now the hope is that sometime by the end of May or early June they'll have Steven Matz and or Seth Lugo back. You don't know how long Syndergaard's going to be out, and so the Mets are going to be a patchwork as we move along. Garcia's 1 for 2, had a base hit and scored in the 4th inning, and a fastball on the corner. 0-2. That's fastball has been sitting 95-96. He dialed it up to 98 at one point. Up over 90 pitches for the night. 0-2 coming. And that's up and away. 1-2 to Garcia. Keith, you have a phone call. You know, the Derby's coming up Saturday.
Number 3 in the 7 race.
Thank you very much. Harvey's walked 3 tonight. He struck out 2. Allowed 6 runs and 6 hits. Freeman at first and 2 out. And Garcia pops one up. Easy play for Rivera. And that retires the side. Harvey able to work around the leadoff walk in the bottom of the 5th. On we go to the 6th in Atlanta with the Mets down 6-3. Against R.A. Dickey, Mets down 6-3. Reyes has walked and hit a comebacker tonight, 0 for 1. And takes the knuckleball outside for ball 1. Reyes, Rivera, and Lagares for the Mets in the 6th. Pitcher spot due up 4th in the inning, and Harvey at 95 pitches, so he might be done for the night. And Reyes takes a strike, 1-1. Mets had to get 4 innings out of their bullpen last night, so you'd love for Harvey to go a 6th inning if he could, but we'll see whether that's what Terry Collins has in mind.
No, I think if he's the 4th batter in this inning, men are on base, he's going to have to pinch hit for him.
But what if it's a 1-2-3 inning? Would you leave him out there?
I would.
Slap down to 3rd. Garcia playing in, handles the short hop and throws out Reyes, 1 away. Well, on this date in baseball history in 1939, Lou Gehrig's then record streak of 2,130 consecutive games played came to an end. Gehrig played only 8 games in the 1939 season. His last was on April 30th. And then with the Yankees scheduled in Detroit, he sat out a game and never played again. And his streak came to an end. And it remained in perpetuity till Cal Ripken Jr. came along and broke it.
The Iron Horse.
.493 home runs, 1,995 RBIs, lifetime .340 hitter. And Rivera is hit by the pitch. And so the Mets have a 1-out base runner.
Richard Sandomir has got a new book out. I think it's out now, or it is coming out. He sent me a copy, and it is about the making of the Lou Gehrig story, and it's a very interesting book. I'm around a little over a quarter through. Very, very interesting. The Hollywood aspect of it, how they had to sell the story to the big studios.
Well, you mean the making of the
movie?
Movie.
Yes, yes. Was I not clear?
We said the Lou Gehrig story. I didn't know what you meant.
Well, it was the Lou Gehrig was the name of the movie, right? The Lou Gehrig story, wasn't it? Oh, Pride of the Yankees.
Pride of the Yankees.
What am I thinking? Pride of the Yankees.
Eric O'Flaherty, the left-hander, and they've also got a right-hander up in the bullpen for the Braves. As Chuck Hernandez, the pitching coach, took a trip out to check on Dickey before he faces Juan Lagares. Lagares is 0 for 2. He's hit the ball on the ground twice tonight. Kevin Plawecki out on deck to bat for Harvey. And Lagares takes the knuckleball inside for ball 1. So Matt appears to be done after 5 innings of work. Second straight start against the Braves, and second one that has not gone the way he would have hoped. Knocked down by Suzuki. 2-0. And that knuckleball has been moving all night, and Suzuki, who is relatively inexperienced at catching it, has had quite a chore. No pass balls, one wild pitch. That was back in the first inning, but lots of struggles. Dickey has walked 4 and hit a batter. Behind Lagares, 2-0. And Juan takes a strike. Short lead for Rivera at first, and Lagares hits a double play ball right at Swanson. Phillips with the turn for the easy 6-4-3 double play, and that retires the side. Dickey gets through the top of the 6th. He's got a 6-3 lead. Schwartz and a group of esteemed sports writers will recap tonight's Rangers Game 3, plus a preview of Jacob deGrom's start on Daily News Live, presented by Citi, tomorrow at 5, only on SNY.
Gary, what did I just hear over the loudspeaker?
Well, it appears that Kevin Plawecki has come in to catch. Don't know why Travis d'Arnaud is out of the game, but Matt Harvey is continuing on after the double play prevented Plawecki from batting for him. Well, Plawecki is now doing the catching. There's Kevin. We'll try and find out what has happened to d'Arnaud as Suzuki hits a slow roller. Tough play for Reyes, charging the bare hand play, and he got it. Suzuki had a base hit on a similar ball in the second inning. This time Reyes is equal to it.
Nice play, Jose.
So now Dansby Swanson. Well, if you go back to early in the game, Darno took one ball off his arm, took another off his foot. And you wonder whether one of those has swelled up on him. Cabrera diving on the backhand and has no play on Swanson, who has himself an infield hit. A badly needed hit for Dansby Swanson.
Boy, he can fly down that line. No chance to throw the speedy Swanson out.
Now we'll get a pinch hitter. Emilio Bonifacio will bat for Ari Dickey. It's Bonifacio, switch hitter. Infield hit for Swanson, the 7th given up by Harvey tonight. And Bonifacio lines one to left for a base hit. So back-to-back hits from the 8 and 9 spots. Bonifacio a pinch hit single, and now the Braves have 2 men on with Inciarte coming up. Let's check in with the studio. Justine Ward has a game break brought to you by your Tri-Honda dealer. Mets will make a pitching change. Matt Harvey is coming out. Call to the bullpen brought to you by Verizon. Josh Edgen coming in. Mets down 6-3 in the 6th. We'll be right back. Day.
Josh has done an outstanding job. Has stranded 11 of 14 inherited runners. He needs to build on that to keep the Mets in this ball game.
Brought in to face Ender Inciarte, who's just 2 for 15 against lefties this year. He's had a big night already.
And he lines one over short, a base hit. Swanson to third. He's being waved home. The throw by Lagares to the plate. He may get him. He is out at the plate. Lagares with the perfect one-hop throw to gun down Dansby Swanson for the 2nd out.
Well, this was not a good call by Mr. Washington. Ron Washington at third base. Coach, not with Lagares' arm. Look at that perfect one-hop.
Milwaukee putting down the tag.
Nobody out. You're taking your team out of a big inning. No, I'm sorry. Nobody out on the base hit. That was 1 out. So you take your, excuse me. You are right. I am wrong. You just kind of run yourself out of an inning here. It's a 3-run ball game.
So So now there are 2 out. Inciarte with his 3rd hit of the night, but we've seen that act from Lagares before. Now that his arm is fully healthy, it's fun watching him charge the ball in center field and get rid of it.
It's Juan. If he can be productive with offensively, it's just such a plus to have him on the field.
Brandon Phillips 1 for 3 tonight, and he takes a strike from Edgin. Edgin came in to face one batter last night, got Markakis to ground out. Now he's given up a hit to the lefty, and he's got to get the right-hand hitter out.
You know, another beautiful thing about that throw, Gary, was that he hit the cutoff man, did not allow the back runners to advance.
Bonifacio stopped at second. Now he takes off for third as Phillips flies one to shallow right, and Bruce coming on to get it, and that retires the side. So Lagares' arm keeps the Braves from scoring in the bottom of the 6th. On to the 7th, still 6-3 Atlanta. Dickey is out of the game, and maybe nobody's happier than Kurt Suzuki. This has been a struggle for him tonight.
Watch this sequence, and you'll understand why R.A. Dickey said you got to catch me on your be on your toes.
Jose Ramirez into pitch. Curtis Granderson pinch hitting, takes a fastball for a strike. Curtis sitting down tonight, but in there to pinch hit against the hard throwing Ramirez, who's had a good start for the Braves, and he goes off speed to get ahead on Granderson. 0-2.
Granderson's 2nd pinch hit of the season.
Curtis 1 for his last 31. His average down to 124 on the season, and he hits a lazy fly ball to left. And Matt Kemp is there to reel it in. Granderson retired, 1 out. Let's check in with studio. Justine Ward has another game break brought to you by the New York State Department of Health. Dusty Baker left Tanner Roark in tonight to throw 125 pitches.
Well, you know what Dusty's reputation is. He sticks with his starters.
Conforto hits a slow ground ball. Freeman makes the play. 2 out. Last year, the entire season, there was only one pitcher in baseball threw more than 125 pitches in a game, and that was Matt Moore with the Giants. So it's very rare these days, especially this early in the year.
Yep.
for anybody but, you know, someone like a knuckleball pitcher to be allowed to throw that many. So 2 out now is Dribble Cabrera, who hit a home run back in the 3rd inning. Ramirez getting 2 quick outs. And that's hit to left center. Inciarte over in the gap and runs it down. Side retired. 5-pitch inning for Jose Ramirez. Let's go 1, 2, 3. Stretch time at 6-3 Atlanta. Starters, 2nd straight poor effort by Matt Harvey against the Braves. R.A. Dickey was able to hang in for 6 innings despite giving up 2 home runs. And Dickey on the long end of a 6-3 score as we go to the bottom of the 7th. Josh Smoker will be the 3rd Met pitcher of the night.
Well, Josh coming off not a good outing in Washington. He got lit up pretty good. He's been pitching good up to that point, but he had a bad one.
Freddie Freeman leads off toward the Braves and fouls back the first pitch fastball. Smoker in that outing in Washington, that was in Sunday's 23-5 blowout, gave up 2 home runs to Matt Wieters in an inning plus. That's tough. Give up 2 home runs to the same guy in an inning.
Well, we're talking about that horrific loss up there in Washington, the 25 runs. 23, excuse me.
Don't go overboard now, kid.
Sorry, pitching staff.
Grounded to the right side. Walker playing deep. And throws out Freeman, 1 away.
It's like the sky was falling in that game.
Hard pressed to convince Met fans that it didn't fall. With all the events of that 24-hour period. Matt Kemp will step in against Smoker. Keith, you have to help me out with some geographical identification here. Okay. We are in Cobb County, Georgia.
Right.
We are not in the city of Atlanta.
Right.
That's lined into center field, a base hit for Kemp, who had 2 line drives caught his last 2 at bats, and now he's got himself his first base hit of the night.
Atlanta's Fulton County, correct?
It is. And we're in Cobb County, which is northwest of Fulton County. But because they want this to be identified as the Braves' home, they have created an Atlanta mailing address for this stadium. Even though we're not located in Atlanta, we're in Cobb County. The nearest municipality is Smyrna. So my question to you is, should I say SunTrust Park in Atlanta, Should I say SunTrust Park in Smyrna? Should I say SunTrust Park in Cobb County? Which way would you go?
Atlanta.
Even though we're not actually in
Well,
Atlanta.
no, the address, Gary. You can argue it in court.
That's drilled down the right field line by Markakis, and that'll go to the corner. Kemp on his way to third. He's going to be held up there by Ron Washington. So Markakis has a double, and Smoker in instant trouble. Second and third and one out.
Change up, stayed back. Right down the pipe, inner half. Kemp has definitely lost some speed, Gary. This kid used to be able to fly. I think he's a little bit dinged up a little bit in his legs.
He's had a lot of leg injuries over the last few years. Still a good player, but not the speed he once had. Smoker out. That's to bring Fernando Salas in. We'll be right back. Lately.
Well, he certainly has. His last three outings, Gary, he's given up 6 runs, and that's over a 2-inning span. So it's been a struggle. The ERA is reflective of that.
Donis Garcia at the plate takes an off-speed pitch for a strike. Mets have the infield most of the way in with second and third and nobody out. Already down 6-3 in the 7th. Garcia's 1 for 3. Kemp at third. Markakis at second. Garcia chases one up and away, and it's 0-2.
Well, and that's what makes Garcia so dangerous. He's not going to take anything, and he lets it rip.
Kurt Suzuki on deck. Salas could use a strikeout. Goes up and away again. Couldn't get him to chase. 1-2. Matt Harvey went 5 1/3, allowed 6 runs, 7 hits. Josh Edgin got a break when Juan Lagares threw out a runner at the plate in his 2/3 of an inning. Josh Smoker, a third of an inning, gave up 2 hard hits. And Salas trying to clean up for him. Garcia yanks one foul. Kemp had to dance out of the way. Two coming up the middle, base hit for Garcia. Kemp is in. They'll hold Markakis at third. It's an RBI single for Garcia.
And the Braves stretch their lead. It's now 7-3.
Starting to be a little bit of concern about this bullpen here. He jumps on a high fastball here to get this base hit. Up and away and tomahawks it.
Walker playing in and shoots on by. And so the Braves string together 3 straight hits to produce a run. And still only 1 out. Charge to Josh Smoker, who is also responsible for Markakis at third. Braves are 4 for 8 with runners in scoring position tonight. Came into the night with a .282 mark with runners in scoring position, so they bettered that. Kurt Suzuki 1 for 2. He's also been hit by a pitch. He scored 2 runs.
Everything's up with Salas. Even in spring training and last year, he likes to throw that fastball upstairs.
Game 3 of this series tomorrow night. Jacob deGrom for the Mets, Bartolo Colon for the Braves. Our coverage begins at 6:30 tomorrow night, right here on SNY. And slider off the plate from Salas. 2-0. Dansby Swanson, the number 8 hitter, on deck. Suzuki takes it high, and now it's 3-0.
Goodness.
Fernando Salas was very heavily used through the first 3 weeks of the season. Lately, he's been used less, but his effectiveness has really gone away. Here's a strike, 3-1.
Well, here's a very treacherous pitch coming right here.
Markakis at third, Garcia at first with 1 out. 3-1 coming, and Suzuki rockets 1 foul. 3-2. So every chance Garcia will be in motion here to try and stay out of the double play, with Salas is not a big strikeout pitcher on the mound. There he goes, and the pitch is outside, ball 4, and now the bases are loaded. So Salas has come in, giving up a single and a walk, and now Dansby Swanson will come up with a chance to blow the doors off this game.
Tough man to double up.
Swanson is grounded out, walked, and then had an infield hit. He was thrown out at the plate by Lagares on Inciarte's hit in the 6th inning. Bats here with Markakis at third, Garcia at second, Suzuki at first, and only 1 out. Mets will keep Rivera in at first. Everybody else is back, hoping to turn 2. And Swanson, first pitch swinging, flies 1 out to right. Bruce going back onto the warning track, back at the wall. He makes the catch. Tagging at third is Markakis. He'll come in to score the 2nd run of the inning on the sacrifice fly by Swanson. It's now 8-3. And another example of how the ball carries here at SunTrust Park, particularly out to right field.
It's also another example, Gary, of this Atlanta club, how they do the little things. Last night, over and in twice, and now getting the sacrifice fly. How many times have we seen in today's game guys having difficulty getting a sac fly?
Now Lane Adams will be the pinch hitter. So the
Braves now with a 5-run lead. Adams pinch hit last night, lined out to center field. Granderson made a terrific catch to rob him of a hit.
Pulls one toward the hole. That's a base hit. Garcia around third. He's going to head home. The throw by Conforto is up the line, and the run comes in. Lane Adams with an RBI single to tack on another run, and it's 9-3 Atlanta.
Hanging slider. Conforto, who plays a little bit deeper, and he should. Not going to throw out Garcia.
And not a good throw by Conforto. Normally is true with his throws.
So 3 runs home in the inning. That one charged to Salas, and now Inciarte, the 8th man up in the inning, already has 3 hits and 3 RBIs tonight. Braves have broken it open. They lead 9-3 in the 7th. We've gotten word on Travis d'Arnaud. He came out of the game with a sore right wrist. That's the same wrist that kept him out of action for 4 days last week after his hand hit the bat of Aaron Altair making a throw. So apparently that has recurred, and d'Arnaud came out of the game. Swing and a miss, 0-2 to Inciarte. So Kevin Plawecki came in to replace d'Arnaud last inning.
Well, this has been a disaster inning. Another 3-run inning for the Bravos. 2 tonight.
Salas trying to put this inning to bed behind ahead over 2, and it's hit weakly out to Walker at second. He makes the play on Inciarte to end the inning, but 8 men come to bat, and the Braves score 3. 9-3 Atlanta as we go to the 8th. Down 9-3. Game the Mets once led 2-0. They were able to come back and tie it at 3, but 6 unanswered runs for the Braves. Mets box score presented by Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center. Jay Bruce, a 2-run homer in the first. His Dribble Cabrera, a solo home run in the third. But the Mets have had only 1 hit since that Cabrera home run. And now the former Met Eric O'Flaherty will come on to pitch in the 8th inning.
He's kind of settled in. Remember that first outing in the opening series at Citi Field, he couldn't find the plate. Those 4 walks, I believe, were in that first game.
Jay Bruce, first man to face him, takes a strike. Bruce hit his 8th home run of the year in the first inning, a 2-run shot. Since then he's popped a short fly to center. Bruce just 1 for 9 in his career against O'Flaherty. It's this one in the air to right center. And easy for Inciarte. 1 out. Road ahead presented by GMC. 2 more games to go in this series. The next 2 nights. Then the Mets are home for the weekend to take on the Marlins. And then finally a non-division rival when the Giants come in next Monday night to start a 3-game series.
I see we got 3 in the booth in that Giants series, and you and I are off to Milwaukee and Phoenix, Garrett.
2 domes.
That's right.
It's supposed to be in the 50s in Milwaukee and in the 90s in Arizona.
And let's go for a hike up the mountain.
If you do that, first of all, we have to bring your wheelchair. Second of all, you have to bring the right shoes. Otherwise, we're not letting you near any more mountains. Too much damage done. The mountain and the damage done.
Yes, Neil.
Speaking of Neil Walker's 1 for 3. Had an infield hit in the 3rd. Mets have had just 4 hits tonight. Walker takes outside. Kirk O'Flaherty, the 3rd Atlanta pitcher of the night. R.A. Dickey went the first 6, allowed 3 runs, 4 hits. Trying to beat the Mets for the 2nd time in less than a week.
That's hit down the left field line. A base hit for Walker, and that'll go to the corner.
And Neil will cruise into second base with a 1-out double. 5th double of the year for Walker.
Walker, that will make him feel good. Came into the game hitting 200, having a tough start. Such a terrific year last year.
So now Kevin Plawecki will bat for the first time. Plawecki came in for Travis d'Arnaud, who left with a recurrence of his sore right wrist that kept him out recently. Whether he aggravated in any particular way, or whether it just acted up on him. He took a couple of foul tips tonight, but neither one of them was off that wrist. One off his left arm, one off his foot. Popped up. Freeman gives a look, but they'll be back in the crowd. Let's answer our Verizon trivia question. The 3 pitchers with 50 or more losses since the start of 2013. Well, R.A. Dickey
You're
is
right. Samardzija, of course. Well, those guys aren't appreciative of that little trivia question.
Well, Samardzija will get a chance for revenge when the Giants come to town. Perhaps he'll be pitching in that series. One and 1 to Plawecki, foul back. So here's an interesting note from Elias, because Dickey has a chance to beat the Mets for the 2nd time in consecutive starts. Since the start of the 2015 season, only 1 pitcher has done that against the Mets, beaten them twice in consecutive starts. And that was Steven Strasburg last year. And now Dickey has a chance to do it tonight. And a 6-run cushion with only 5 outs to get for the Atlanta bullpen. 1-2 to Plawecki. And Kevin fouls back the fastball. Plawecki had a big pinch hit single in the Mets win in Washington on Saturday night. But the last time we saw Kevin, it was as a pitcher, and he got an at bat as a pitcher, and he struck out like a pitcher. He did have one very good inning on the mound, but then it all kind of fell apart in the 2nd inning.
Well, what I saw, what the highlights was him just throwing like lollipops.
He's throwing 80-mile-an-hour fastball.
BP.
Yeah, well. Now, if you went out on the mound during your career,
I would have tried to pop a few by him.
What do you think you would have hit on the radar gun?
Oh, I don't.
Down to third.
I don't know.
Let's see. It throws out Plawecki to
It's a whole different ball of wax thrown on that mound. And it's been years since high school I pitched.
Well, that's what Kevin said. He said the last time he had pitched before that game Sunday was when he was 14.
Okay, for me it would have been 17.
Paul Sewald, who was just recalled yesterday when Noah Syndergaard went on the disabled list, getting ready to pitch in the bottom of the 8th. Jose Reyes is 0 for 2 and a walk, so his 7-game hitting streak is on the line. And Reyes grounds one out for Swanson. So Flaherty has himself a scoreless inning. Works around the Walker double. Still 9-3 Atlanta in the 8th. In reaction from tonight's Game 3 as they look for a win against the Senators on home ice on SNY.TV, your online home of all things New York sports. Paul Sewald, 3rd appearance for the Mets, just recalled.
And it's been a tough slog for him. You see the 4 hits and an inning and a third, and a walk mixed in there.
Brandon Phillips leads off in the last of the 8th and takes a strike. They've been working with Sewald on throwing a cutter to try and give him a better weapon, particularly against the lefties. We'll see that when Freeman comes up, perhaps. Sewald had a good spring training, but it did not reflect in his 2 outings with the Mets in his first stint. Worked an inning and a third, gave up 2 runs, 4 hits. The Las Vegas native, plucked from his hometown. I think he likes that.
I'm trying to get used to the Las Vegas Raiders.
And Phillips down on strikes. Good slider by Sewald to get him for the first out. Drive around the majors presented by Cadillac. Tanner Roark, we mentioned those 125 pitches. Nats are down 5-3 to the Diamondbacks in the 8th. Arizona continues to play well. Jeremy Hellickson on the short end so far. The Cubs have been struggling. They're just a game over 500, but they're up 6-2 in the 5th. And Edison Volquez battling a blister. Tampa Bay leading the Marlins. There's Freeman, who hit a 2-run homer in the first inning. Since then, he's lined to center, walked, and grounded out 1 for 3. So another rough outing for Josh Smoker and another rough outing for Fernando Salas.
Yes.
Two guys who gave the Mets some very good work for stretches in the first month of the season, but seem to have hit a little bit of a wall.
It's a little bit concerning. Just remember, the one thing in spring training we all felt was not the back end of the bullpen with Reed and Familia, but the middle of the bullpen was of a concern. And now they're going to be more taxed with the injuries down now with Matz on the DL, now Syndergaard.
Well, the Mets were without Familia for the first 2 weeks, and that forced guys like Salas to work a lot of appearances and innings. Jerry Blevins as well, but Blevins seems to be able to handle it. And the backdoor breaking ball misses. And it's 3-2 to Freeman.
I kind of consider Blevins the back end of the bullpen. He's the big left-hander coming in late to get the big out.
In fact, Terry Collins was saying tonight there are going to be times when Blevins is going to be his 8th inning guy, depending on who's coming up. You know, if you got right-hand hitters in the 7th, left-hand hitters in the 8th, he'll flip-flop Reed and Blevins because he has that much trust in Blevins. Three-2 to Freeman, and he walks him. Came with a changeup on 3-2. So the Braves have a one-out base runner. New York Mets baseball on SNY is brought to you by Verizon. Only Verizon makes Tuesday night baseball better by rewarding their customers with exclusive ballpark access and experiences. Visit sny.tv/Verizon to learn how you can get access and rewards just like these lucky fans. I think I know that guy. Here's Matt Kemp. Kemp is 1 for 3 tonight. Had a base hit up the middle to start that 3-run 7th inning that enabled the Braves to pull away. Paul Sewald, Vegas native who played at the University of San Diego, a teammate of Chris Bryant's. That's hooked down the left field line toward the corner, but it goes foul. And it's 1-1 to Kemp.
A nice pickup for the Braves. Kemp. Terrific second half for them last year. Really kind of gave them the boost they needed, that extra bat in the lineup to put behind Freeman and give Freddie Freeman some protection, a right-handed bat.
And he's continued to do that early this season, even despite a stint on the disabled list. Fastball in for a strike. 1-2. Paul Sewald, the 5th Met pitcher of the night. Matt Harvey's on the hook in this game. He went 5 1/3, allowed 6 runs, 7 hits. Edgin, Smoker, Salas, and now Sewald. 2-2 now to Kemp. Coming up tonight after the post game, it's Geico Sports Night. All the baseball, Rangers Senators game 3, and football news as well. Geico Sports Night every night, 10:30 or after the post game. Slowly hit, Reyes in, gets the force, turned by Walker, is in time for the double play. Side retired. Well, not hit hard, but the Mets still turn the 5-4-3 double play to get Sewald through the bottom of the 8th. 9-3 as we go to the 9th. ninth inning. 9-3 Atlanta. Braves trying to even up this series, and Matt Whistler will try and get the final 3 outs.
Well, Whistler was part of that trade. He came over from the Padres, if you recall, that Craig Kimbrell, when they traded their closer, the Braves. He was part of that deal along with Cameron Maybin. He was 7-13 last year as a starter with an ERA of 5, and he's been put in the bullpen this year.
Third outing for Whistler since he was called up. T.J. Rivera greets him with a hard hit base hit. And the Mets have the leadoff man on in the 9th. Third time T.J.'s been on base tonight. They're your team. Take them with you. Watch every SNY Mets game on the go on any device all season long with live streaming presented by Verizon. Just download the NBC Sports app or visit SNY.TV, your new home for live streaming coverage of every SNY Mets game. Rivera's hit just the 6th tonight for the Mets. Juan Lagares is 0 for 3. And he takes the first pitch fastball for a strike. Matt Reynolds is out on deck to pinch hit with the pitcher's spot due up next. And Lagares hits the breaking ball foul. 0-2. Jose Ramirez and Eric O'Flaherty each went a scoreless inning in relief for Atlanta. Behind R.A. Dickey, who's in line to get his 3rd win of the year, is 2nd against the Mets. Matt Whistler from Bryan, Ohio. And Lagares lines one up the middle, of base hit. So Juan has his first hit of the night, and the Mets with back-to-back hits to start the top of the 9th. And so the uphill climb continues.
Hanging slider. Ripped.
So now Matt Reynolds, who got a start on Sunday and went 1 for 4, his first since being called up. Rivera at 2nd, Lagares at 1st, and nobody out. And Reynolds takes the fastball away for ball 1. Nobody on call as yet in the Atlanta bullpen, but another base runner or 2, and that will change.
And this is definitely mop-up duty right here for Whistler.
Fly ball, right center field. Markakis eases over, and that's the first out. Reynolds is retired, 1 away. Top of the order, and Michael Conforto. Michael's 1 for 3 on walk tonight, 3 for 7 in this series. Two on and 1 out. Conforto takes low and away from Whistler, ball 1. Mets with their win last night edged a half game in front of the Braves out of last place. Loss tonight would drop them right back. 1-1 to Conforto. Whistler's been a starting pitcher throughout his professional career, getting his first taste of relief work, and so far so good. He's had 2 scoreless outings for the Braves since being called up, one of those against the Mets last week. Crowds Conforto 2-1. As Ruben Cabrera waiting on deck. Mets had a 2-0 lead before the Braves ever came to bat on a Jay Bruce home run. Cabrera homered in the 3rd to tie the game at 3, but the Mets have not scored since. Conforto tops one up the line. Garcia with the bare hand play, and he got him.
Boy,
wow, Adonis Garcia with an unlikely play.
That is Brooks Robinson-esque right there. Whether we got him or not, I'm not sure.
Mets are going to challenge. They might as well.
This is a heck of a play, Gary.
I did not think there was any chance he was going to throw Conforto out, and I'm not sure if he did, but that's an outstanding effort by Garcia.
He beat it.
Mets won a challenge earlier in the game on a play at first base, and they're going to win this one as well, it would appear. Ball was not yet in Freeman's glove when Conforto came across the bag.
Not seeing such horrible, and I use that word, first base umpiring.
That's not even close.
I mean, it's terrible first base umpiring. It's bled over from last season to this season.
I mean, not even close.
I mean, just awful. I'd be embarrassed.
So it'll be an infield hit for Conforto. You can be quite certain based on that replay.
Jeez.
Play under review brought to you by Mazda Driving Matters. And this is one of those where how does it take more than 10 seconds? Right? First look at it, it's obvious that he was safe. Boom. Let's go.
Flip a coin.
And of course he is. So the Mets win their second challenge of the day.
That's a crew chief out there. It's blown 2 calls at first.
Now, the first one was closer. This one wasn't close at all. But nice effort by Garcia to make it as close as it was. So now the Mets have the bases loaded with 1 out, and that means that the Braves are going to get their bullpen cranking. Chuck Hernandez will go out to the mound not only to talk to Whistler, but give Jim Johnson, their closer, time to start loosening up. It's a 6-run lead, but Brian Snitker is going to take no chances, and he's going to get Johnson going.
He's got 1 more batter. He gives up a base hit, Gary, he's toast.
As Dribble Cabrera coming up, he's already got a home run tonight and drawn a walk, 1 for 3.
He can go into the clubhouse, into that quiet room.
With the aromatherapy? Or you think he'll opt for sensory deprivation? They should have a float tank in there too, you know. Bases loaded, 1 out. And Cabrera first pitch swinging at the curveball, 0-1. That's an interesting choice by Cabrera.
Really.
With his team down by 6 runs. Jay Bruce, the on deck batter. Cabrera needs to keep the line moving. The Mets to try and pull off an unlikely comeback. And he takes that curveball for a strike, and now it's 0-2. Whistler's given up 3 hits in the inning. But a hit on Cabrera. And as Dribble just got a piece of that to keep the at bat alive. Rivera at third, Lagares at second, Conforto at first with 1 out. And the curveball outside, 1-2.
Jeez. Not overpowering at all, Whistler.
One-two coming, and Cabrera wastes away the fastball. Still 1-2. Bruce on deck. Whistler trying to put this game to bed, but it's not coming easily for the 24-year-old. Again, the 1-2. And Cabrera tops one. Whistler shovels it home and gets the force, and that's the 2nd out. So Rivera is retired on the 1-2 fielder's choice. And now the Mets are down to their final out of the night with Bruce coming up.
Well, the proper play here, and he's not trying to save his ERA here. And it's just that's the play to make.
A much tougher play at first base. So now Bruce, who had a 2-run homer back in the first, since then has hit the ball in the air 3 times and been retired all 3. Bases loaded, 2 down, top of the 9th. Mets down by 6. And the curveball down for ball 1.
Well, you're always taught on that bunt or squeeze play to shovel. If you use your glove, to use it as a shovel, keep the glove open and Well, I can't think of another term. Shovel it to the catcher.
It's like spade work. Wouldn't want to use a hoe.
Certainly not a pitchfork.
A pick. A dowel. No, I think the shovel is the correct implement.
A flat shovel or a beveled shovel?
Beveled. Yes, beveled all the way.
Bruce hits one out to left field. Back goes Kemp, gets turned around, goes back at the wall. It's out of here! An opposite field grand slam for Jay Bruce, his second home run of the night. A 6 RBI night for Bruce, his 9th home run of the year. And all of a sudden, it's now 9-7 Atlanta. Bruce with the opposite field grand slam, the first grand slam for the Mets this season. So the Mets able to cash 4 in the 9th. They're still 2 shy. And the Braves are now going to bring their closer, Jim Johnson, into the game.
Well, this is one thing that Bruce has been doing. He's been using a little bit of the left field. And there you go.
Fifth career grand slam from Jay Bruce. Gets the Mets closer. Still down to their final out. Jim Johnson coming in for the Braves. We'll be right back. Save. Braves lead at 9-7. Mets have 2 out and nobody on after the Jay Bruce grand slam. And Neil Walker will try and get the tying run to the plate if he can get aboard. Kevin Plawecki behind him. And Johnson's first pitch outside for ball 1. Jay Bruce's 23rd career multiple home run game and a career high 6 RBIs. Never had a 6 RBI game before.
Well, he has now.
2-run homer in the first and now a grand slam in the 9th and a fastball strike to Walker, 1-1. So the Mets have hit 3 home runs tonight, but they're still 2 runs shy in the 9th. Walker had a double his last time up. He's 2 for 4 tonight. And Johnson with the sinker gets ahead 1-2. And now the Mets are down to their final strike. Two coming, and Walker nubs one foul on the curveball by Johnson. Well, the Mets were down by 6 when the inning began. If Walker can get on, the Mets will get the tying run to bat. One-two from Johnson to Walker, and it's pulled foul. Whistler went 2/3 of an inning, gave up 4 runs, 4 hits. Unable to keep the Braves closer out of the game. And now Johnson trying to wrap it up. Again, the 1-2. And Walker goes down swinging, and the ball game is over. The Braves hang on to win it 9-7. A rough night for Matt Harvey at the Mets bullpen. The Mets hit 3 home runs. Jay Bruce hits 2 homers and drives in 6, but not enough. As Ari Dickey beats the Mets for the 2nd time in a week, and the Braves even the series at a game apiece.
Well, it's a game where it started out with a lot of runs early. Bruce with a big day, as Gary mentioned, 2 home runs, the grand slam, the 6 RBIs. Cabrera hits a home run, but Dickey gets the win, Gare. Another win for him. He remains undefeated against his former teammates. And the Mets try to come back, but too far.
Game summary presented by Verizon. 2nd straight troubling start for Matt Harvey, both against the Braves. He falls to 2-2 on the year. Bruce with the 2 homers and 6 RBIs, his 5th career grand slam. But the Mets fall shy as the Braves win it tonight, 9